Victoria Bogner, who is our head of wealth planning, is joining us. One of the common questions we deal with right now is if people are like, should I spend down my IRA? Should I do Roth conversions? How's it going to impact my Social Security? And also, what happens with my Medicare Part B,
which is
premium,
a big deal,
which goes up as your income goes up. So we've got Victoria joining us now. Vicki, thanks for taking some time out of your schedule.
Yeah, good to be on the show. Always a pleasure. I thought we could tackle this very common question that we get, especially when folks are getting ready to retire. They're in their early or mid-60s, and they ask, should I take IRA withdrawals now and delay Social Security, or should I start Social Security now and let the IRA grow? So if you're listening and you've wrestled with this, you are not alone. And it might seem like a really benign, straightforward question, but it really has a lot of layers and nuance that are important to realize. Really, I've drilled this down to hopefully make this as easy as possible to understand of the implications of that decision. So there are 5 key pieces of information that you need to write down in order to help answer this question. And then there are 3 different moving parts to consider. So it's not as complicated as it sounds, but I do want to dive in to how do you answer this question of which path to take, A or B.
And by the way, Vicki, you actually asked that question, a very coherent question, because clients typically don't know how to ask the question. They normally ask the question, when do I start Social Security?
There's so many implications to that question, right? And depends on so many different things. Okay. And most people just think, I'll just take it at my normal retirement age. And that's a fine choice. But if you're a little bit more intentional about when you take it and what you can do in lieu of taking it, then you might find that you're able to save a lot more in taxes later down the line, or you're able to have more powerful charitable gifting or legacy planning. So there are a lot of implications to not only when you take Social Security, but how you handle your accounts in the meantime before your RMD age.
Okay, and so the 5 facts you gather are?
Yes, so the 5 facts are, how much income do you need? So that's question number 1. How much do you need to live on? Especially, you've retired and now you have your accounts and you need to figure out, how am I still going to get myself a paycheck month after month when I don't have this job to rely on? I need to rely on either Social Security or my investment accounts, or a combination of both. So that's the number 1 question. Then your age. How old are you right now? So if you're willing to wait until your full retirement age to take Social Security, or age 70 for Social Security, just know that past your full retirement age, your Social Security benefit grows roughly 8% per year until you're 70. So it's something to keep in mind. The third piece of information you need is your Social Security amount at your full retirement age. And you can find that on your Social Security statement. If you've never logged into SSA.gov, I recommend you do that. You can see all of your statements there.
Do they still do a paper statement? Because I haven't received one in years.
I got one.
No, I don't think they do paper anymore. You have to go online. And it's a good idea to look at them and make sure it's accurate. Make sure your earnings history is accurate. Because I've known of cases in which it's not, and they've had to contest that and get it fixed.
Okay.
So that's important. So the 4th piece of information is, how big is your IRA or all of your pre-tax accounts combined? So your IRAs, your 401ks, 403b, anything that's pre-tax, how much of that do you have? And then the 5th piece of information is, what other assets or income do you have? Do you have taxable brokerages, annuities, pensions, rental income? All of that factors in. So those are the 5 key pieces of information. And yes, we could get into the weeds about longevity and your health and that kind of thing, but we're going to keep it simple for now. So,
well, thank you, because I was just going to actually ask that question. I circled age on the notes I was taking, but I'm going to get in the weeds. When we say longevity, we're talking about a person specifically.
Yes. Yes. How long do you think you're going to live?
Yes. What kind of vices do you now possess that will shorten your life significantly?
Yes. What is your medical history in your family? And also a factor is if you're married, if your spouse is significantly younger or older than you are, that plays into this as well. But
That's right.
just so that, you don't have to listen to me talk for the next 90 minutes, we'll keep it pretty simple here.
Okay.
So let's go into the two paths, and then I'm going to go into the three moving parts. So we have these two paths. They're both
So we got
perfectly
5
reasonable.
facts, 2 paths, 3 moving parts.
Yes.
For a combination of 10.
You weren't
So
a
easy.
STEM major in college, were you?
Of course she was.
Yeah. Can you tell I'm a math major? Yes. Very algorithmic in my thinking. So you've got path A, which is you bridge with the IRA and delay your Social Security. So you spend from your IRA and maybe a combination of your taxable accounts for now, and you delay that Social Security ideally to 70. And the reason you might do that is you buy yourself a bigger guaranteed paycheck because that Social Security is accruing, right? And if you're married, you have a bigger survivor benefit for the longer lived spouse. So
and this is primarily is really important for those that don't have massive assets, right?
Yes.
Social Security is going to be really important for them for the retirement income.
Yes. And when you think about it, when you pass away, your spouse, now not only are they widowed and they don't have your Social Security check, they have to start filing singly on their taxes. So it's a bit of a double whammy. The bigger that Social Security payment can be to them, the better. The second reason you might do it is you have a tax planning runway between retirement and your first required minimum distribution, which varies depending on how old you are, but it's probably 73 if you're listening to this and you haven't yet started taking Social Security. And in that window, you can do Roth conversions. And by doing Roth conversions, you can lock in certain tax brackets. Whereas if you wait and you have these required minimum distributions, you might be in higher tax brackets then. So it's a way that you can reduce a chance of high taxes and maybe even being pushed into another Medicare premium bracket later in life in your 70s and 80s. So those are the big reasons why to do path A, bridge with the IRA, delay Social Security. Now you've got path B, claim Social Security now and let the IRA grow. And the reason you might do that is if you're very nervous about near-term portfolio stress and you're very risk adverse and I have clients like this. They've been paying into Social Security their whole lives and they just want that money back as soon as possible. Then I get it. You don't want to wait until 70 to take Social Security. You want to start seeing some of that money back that you've paid into the system for so long. It's a valid reason. Also, if you have pre-tax balances that are pretty modest, let's say you've been a great saver, but it's mainly in Roth assets or taxable brokerage or something like that, then you don't really have a compelling reason to try to do a bunch of Roth conversions. That could be a reason to go ahead and claim Social Security now. But just know that if you do claim it now and you have the larger IRA balances, you could run into those larger RMDs later, and that can push you into higher tax brackets. That can trigger more taxation of your Social Security. It can increase your Medicare premiums. So these are all things to consider when you're making this decision.
Going forward.
So those are the two paths. And then we get into the three moving parts. So here are the three moving parts. This is where the rubber meets the spreadsheet, right? You've got your Roth conversions. These are the runway years. So your conversions, what you're doing is you're taking dollars out of your IRA, you're paying taxes now, and you're moving them to Roth, where all that future growth in your withdrawals, it's all tax-free, right? So, and the goal isn't to convert everything. The goal is to fill up those favorable tax brackets each year without tripping a Medicare premium tier that you don't want. So, if you can, for example, convert some IRA money in a 12% tax bracket now, that would then prevent you from having to have RMDs in a 24% tax bracket later. That makes a lot of sense, right?
For sure.
So that's the first moving part. The second is Medicare's income tiers, or IRMA. So Medicare looks at your modified adjusted gross income. So, and it uses a 2-year look back. So the income that you had at age 63 affects premiums you're going to pay at 65, right? So when we're doing conversions or large withdrawals from pre-tax accounts, we want to make sure we're modeling those tax brackets and that next IRMA tier at the same time. Because if we can stay under certain IRMA tiers, that can mean you can save some pretty meaningful premiums with Medicare.
Significant amounts. Significant.
Yes. Yes, pretty meaningful there. So that's the second moving part. And the third is taxation of your Social Security, because a big component to that math of how much you're going to pay on your Social Security is AGI. It's actually provisional income. If you want to get into the weeds, it's AGI plus your tax-exempt interest plus half your Social Security. Up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxed or is taxable, right? And it depends largely on how much adjusted gross income you have. Roth conversions count toward adjusted gross income in the year that you convert. So that's why sometimes the better move is delay Social Security, convert what you can at a reasonable tax rate, and then you can enjoy those lower AGI years later when you're taking Social Security, and then your AGI is lower because you've moved some IRA money to Roth. And then hopefully, if the math works out, even less of your Social Security is taxable at the same time.
This is so dang complicated.
Yes. It seems like such a simple question, but the implications of how and when you take Social Security and what you do with your accounts until you're taking it have really big impact.
Yeah, and I'd say particularly for those that they've saved well, they're not super rich, right? These are maybe middle class retarees. These are really important
these
questions.
are tens of $1,000 questions, because if you go out and you look at
they're huge.
At their net worth in the latter years, and you run these different scenarios, you'll see it in their net worth calculation 15, 20 years out.
Yeah. And it's knowing that you have more control over your tax planning than you realize. You have these levers that you can pull, but you need to know how and when to pull them and how you factor in all of these different Social Security, tables as far as, you've got your AGI and your income tax and your IRMA brackets and your taxable Social
I know, but
Security.
if I hear one more time, I heard the best thing to do is to take it at age 70. Different. When I heard, and I think if I hear that one more time, I'm just going to lose my...
There we go, Pat,
because that's what you hear. It's like, I was talking to my friend, and my friend said...
Every situation's different.
Right? Yes, it
Every
depends.
Situation.
It very much depends on the situation. And I hear people say a lot, too, that, Social Security is going broke, so I'm going to take it right away so I can get my money while there's still anything left.
And maybe.
That's a headline we often hear, right?
Yeah. And maybe.
Yeah. And I might preach.
Yes. Yeah. And because of the fact, but it doesn't matter to you maybe if your IRAs are $1.2 million, but it most certainly probably matters to you if your IRA's $5 million and you're 63 years of age. So
yes. Yes, and the sooner you can start to plan this out, even like in your early 50s.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want to wait until you're 67 and then start asking these questions.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
I mean, the sooner you can get your ducks in a row, the better off you're going to be.